Hey VC, this is Harvey of Spinning the Black Circle, and welcome to my man cave stroke music room tour. This is the second of these videos I've uploaded actually. Early in my VC days, about 3.5 years ago, I did a room tour, but I'm updating it today for two reasons. So one, it wasn't in a man cave personal space format when I did that video about 3.5 years ago. Everything was split across two rooms, including my record collection. It's now in a classic, exactly as I want it, man cave space with paraphernalia everywhere. So that'll be interesting for you to see it all in one place, including my entire collection. Secondly, the wall to the left of me is going to be knocked down later this year, so that we have a much bigger media room stroke man cave. So I thought I would capture what it looks like at the moment, this room that I absolutely love, by the way, so that I can always remember via this YouTube video what the room looked like before I move into a much bigger space. So without further ado, here is the tour. Okay, so as you walk into the man cave, the first thing you'll see is the ever popular Ikea Kalak storage unit. I would say these are close to optimal for storing vinyl, unless you're going to stretch to something that's custom made, then something you can just buy from a store, easily put together, sturdy, and then store your vinyl vertically. Then these are a fantastic choice and easy to add to as well. So when the man cave gets knocked through into a media room, I'll be extending almost all of my storage to be Kalaks. But for the moment, this is just my rock collection from A to M, stored in the Kalaks. As you can see, I quite like this picture of a monkey with headphones, which adorns both a picture above the Kalaks and my listening chair. And if we go to the top of the Kalaks, various paraphernalia, some rock mugs, 1001 albums to hear before you die book, and then various reference books. There's a couple of jazz reference books, Sweet Soul Music, which is about 50s and 60s, the birth of soul in those decades, and a few biographies there, Springsteen, Bowie, book about the lyrics of Bob Dylan, and then you've got various cleaning apparatus here, lots and lots of brushes, which vinyl people tend to have, and the cleaning solution from our Project VCS vacuum, which I'll come on to talk about later. In terms of the Kalaks itself, this is, as I say, my vinyl collection from A to M, rock only, and I've put together these really perfunctory and not particularly practical dividers, A to Z, but also certain artists have their own section. Here's Bowie, because I've got quite a few Bowie LPs, and then there's one for Kate Bush too. So anything where there's a large collection by the same artist. I'm using these perfunctory dividers for now. Goes down again. What else do we have? There's some Dixie Chicks there, or the Chicks as they now like to be called. The albums that I've pulled out are ones that I've either just listened to or intend to listen to again soon. Legion Leaf by Fairborn Convention. But as you can see, rock or country or folk, A to M is the first part of the collection. So down here we have some box sets and also some 7-inches. I wasn't a big Queen fan. In fact, I actively disliked Queen until about 3 years ago, and I saw the Complete Works box set for a really, really good price. So I got a hold of that, and I completely changed my view of what they were about. I always knew they were good musicians, could understand why they were popular, but I always saw them as kind of not particularly great album band. But this Complete Works box set changed my mind on that. So that's the first one there. Then there's an Emmylou Harris record store day box set, which is fantastic, with a 7-inch in it. Reasonably rare. This is a great buy, the Curtis Mayfield box set. His first few Curtis LPs. Starting with Curtis and Roots, Chemist Eye Washington. Then the hugely popular at the moment, and I'm so glad I've got it, Smashing Pumpkins, Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness box set. There's Jeff Buckley's Live at Cine box set, which is reasonably rare, not that expensive, but not that easy to get hold of. And then Pink Floyd's Pulse, which is for some reason on vinyl out of print at the moment. Then we move across to 7 inches, which kind of occupy the space between the first Kalaks and in a wardrobe. And I really want to increase the number of 7 inches I've got. I really like them. I'm always going to be an album chap, but I just think, you know, in terms of an artifact that, you know, really kicked off music in the 50s, and the sound quality too of 7 inches and the artwork, I think I've neglected them. And so there's about 50 to 60 7 inches there. But I intend to, as I knock the wall through and increase the size of the media room or man cave, increase my collection of 7 inches. There's the Beatles' Long Tall Sally mono original EP at the front there. So moving to the right, this is where it really turns into to a man cave now. You can see a huge framed Rolling Stones poster. I really do love the Stones. I love the Beatles and the Stones, but still the best concert I've been to was the Stones just 4 years ago, actually. I think it was at Coventry down the road in a big stadium there in the UK. You know, obviously long before Charlie Watts died, and it was the best gig I've ever been to. So that's why that's there. Then there's lots of paraphernalia on the wall here. I found the audiophile vinyl shop in the UK named the Vinyl Adventure, online vinyl shop. So a couple of things from that store there. There's a record store day tote bag, lots of kind of Discogs, receipts and stickers. There's a record store day order form from a few years ago, so in a few 7 inches. This magazine means a lot to me. It's the Mojo greatest albums ever made, 100 greatest albums ever made edition that came out in 1995, I think it was, and it's just been a reference point for me when I first started getting seriously into music around that time, around 27 years ago. There's a Roots 12 inch for no particular reason on the wall, and a few other 7 inches and things of interest. Then you've got, I'm a big headphones man, and I'll come on to that. And here you've got Sennheiser Momentum headphones, probably my first decent pair of over-ear headphones about 7-8 years ago. They are really good. They're a bit claustrophobic on the ears, but very good. And sticking with Sennheiser, these are the legendary HD 600 headphones. Absolutely tremendous reference headphones, which I don't use anymore at the moment, but I'll come on to why that is a little later. But if you're looking for a pair of reference headphones that you really can't go wrong with, then the Sennheiser HD 600s are excellent. And then my go-to streaming headphones, these are the Bowers & Wilkins PX7s Bluetooth headphones. These are just sensational. So I'll stream these direct from iPhone using Apple Music lossless. Well, of course, it won't be lossless over Bluetooth, but these are just my go-to headphones when I'm streaming music. So that's the 3 headphones on the wall. And then we move down to my collection from N through to U. And this is where I guess you can see that I do really need to knock the wall through and have a purpose-built man cave with proper Ikea across all walls, because this is pretty cramped. But as you can see, I've tried to divide it as best I can. This is the Joni Mitchell collection. She has her own section. Then a pretty hefty Van Morrison collection there. Pink Floyd, probably one of my favorite bands, if not the favorite. You know, lots of Pink Floyd stuff there. Various pressings, The Police, and then I'm also a huge Prince fan, so that is a big collection of Prince stuff in that section. Some Radiohead. I've got every Roxy Music album on vinyl. Not as much Rush as I should have. Then move down. Springsteen, Steely Dan. I've got every Steely Dan album on vinyl, including the 2 recent Record Store Day releases. There's Everything Must Go by Steely Dan, James Taylor. Moving to you. So moving on to the middle of the room. This is where my hi-fi system sits. It's probably worth first talking about the cabinet that it all sits on, because this was an old piece of furniture actually that I tore the doors off the front of it, sanded it down one weekend, and then painted it. And just a really solid piece of wood. I don't think I'm getting much resonance from the turntable arm through this. Seems to be pretty dead sounding. So, you know, whereas a custom hi-fi would probably be better, this very much does the job for me in terms of something solid for the hi-fi, and particularly the turntable to sit on. Then we've got the beating heart of the hi-fi system, which is the Riga Brio 2017 integrated amplifier. It's just a really solid, first step up from an entry-level integrated amplifier. It could and will be for many a fantastic, last amplifier you'll ever need, because it's so solid, but it's got grunt, 50 watts per channel, and lots of finesse as well. So that is an excellent choice if you it's about £600 or $800. A really solid choice is the Rhaegar Brio, and I've had it for the last 5 years and never regretted it. And then moving on to definitely the best piece of hi-fi kit I've owned so far, which is my Rhaegar Planar 6 turntable, upgraded from a Rhaegar Planar 2, which is still in the other room. And it just plays the music so well. It's such a great turntable for those looking to step up into something that's close to audiophile as a kind of mid-range Rhaegar model. And then sitting on the Rhaegar Planar 6 is the HANA SL moving coil cartridge, which just took the system to another level. If you want to upgrade from something like the Rhaegar Exact or the Rhaegar Anya, which was one of my earlier cartridges, then the HANA SL moving coil cartridge, any of that HANA range actually would just an excellent choice. It's detailed, it's great on all kinds of music, but also quite forgiving on recordings that are a bit more basic. And where you've got a really well mastered LP, the HANA SLMC will just make the music sing. So really happy to have that. And then the Rhaegar Planar 6 comes with its own off-board power supply and the switch between 33 RPM and 45. And then sitting atop that, which is probably not ideal, although I have got isolation between them, is the Rhaegar Phono MC phono stage, which is necessary for the Planar 6 to work with the Rhaegar Brio, because that has an MM only cartridge input. And it's probably a bit basic, the Phono MC. Actually, it's something that I need to upgrade in the fullness of time. You probably get the Rhaegar Planar 6 singing a bit more with a better phono stage than that. And then actually, in terms of what I listen to this on, I'll come on to the speakers later, but 95% of my listening now is done via these things. These are the Hi-Fi-Man Sundera headphones. They just immerse me in music so much that I've just, even though I've been listening to speakers all of my life, I just end up with most of my listening being done on these things. They just sound fantastic. And then coupled with that, I've got this beautiful little box here, which has made a big difference, which is the headphone amplifier by JDS Labs, which is named the Atom. So that combination of the Planar 6 with the Hi-Fi-Man Sunderas, the Rhaegar kit, and that JDS Labs headphone amplifier just makes anything sing, and is where I immerse myself in the music. So underneath my hi-fi is something that I refer to as my core collection. So that is about 120 LPs, not necessarily my favourite albums ever, but either special pressings or things that are difficult to get hold of, or just things that I really enjoy playing. Sitting this 120 album shelf under the hi-fi. So things like this is the 45 RPM double pressing of Fleetwood Mac's Rumours, which is one of the best sounding LPs I've ever heard. Now you've got what's this? My Bloody Valentine's Loveless. This is the all analog reissue, which sounds tremendous. Smashing Pumpkins, Siamese Dream, which is pretty difficult to get hold of at the minute, but just things that I'm really proud to own, or that I play regularly, sit in the core collection. And I've got a kind of overspill collection to the right, which are things that I'm just currently spinning at the moment, or that I haven't played enough, which just takes you back into your collection rather than just listening to your most recent purchases. So what have we got here? Talking Heads, Remaining Light, Pierre Morland's Gong, CCS LP there. Stiff little fingers and flammable material. So just a handy way of going back into your collection and listen to things that you maybe haven't given enough airing to. This is a great blues album actually by Albert King from the late 60s, which I think I featured in an earlier Spinning the Black Circle video. So that is the Overspill collection. And then you move to the right, there's only 3 rock artists that I've entirely taken out to give their own shelf. The first is Heart, one of my favourite bands. So all but one Heart LP on vinyl in there. Then we've got Fleetwood Mac. It's got its own section, and then at the back we have the Eagles are in there with their own shelf too. Okay, so just above the hi-fi in the centre of the room is the kind of centrepiece really as a Pink Floyd fan, is this famous Pink Floyd photograph featuring some of their 70s album artwork on the backs of models, which I think is a really nice thing to have in the centre of the room. And beneath that, this rather wonderful poster that my wife bought me for Christmas a couple of years ago, depicting 72 albums from the north of England, from the 70s through to the 90s. So that's a nice thing to have as a centrepiece in the room. And then moving to the right, we have the only published article that I have in any magazine. This was published a few years ago for an article I wrote in Long Live Vinyl magazine about my vinyl collection. So the vinylist Harvey Smith, that's me. It says a bit about my collection there. That sits on the wall. Then we have kind of a mini Prince wall, because I'm a big Prince fan, with some of his 7 inches and a Long Live Vinyl magazine there. And then this is the now playing shelf. So anytime I'm listening to something, we go back across the room, I can sit down and see the album art for what I'm currently playing on vinyl there, which at the minute is the rather fantastic Marillion LP, An Hour Before It's Dark. And then an important box, which is my recent purchases box, because I think the thing is with a vinyl collection is as big as mine, if you're not just going to slot things in and not listen to them properly, I think it's really important to to give them a good few spins first and get a grip of them, just like you did when you first got into music, is listening to things properly. So that's a really good way of doing that, is to have this recent purchases box. So various reference books to the side of the recent purchases box. I mean, this Penguin Guide to Jazz on CD, even though I'm buying on vinyl, is really useful to have as a reference book. 2 publications of Graham Jones' books there about the vinyl revival, which are really good. Lloyd Bradley's Bass Culture. Then this book actually is essential for soul fans in my view. It's by Lloyd Bradley, who's an ex-chef and was for a while in the Sweat Band, one of George Clinton's band. It charts, although it's called Soul on CD, it charts soul music from the 50s all the way through to the 90s by decade, and the key releases to buy. So even though I'm buying on vinyl, it's an incredibly useful reference book. Is Soul on CD by Lloyd Bradley, which you can pick up for really cheap. Then next to my speakers is this magnificent tome. It's the Thames and Hudson Blue Note book, which is just a wonderful thing to own if you haven't seen this book. It's an in-depth chronological walkthrough through Blue Note in some amazing album artwork. So I really need to get stuck into this actually, because it's just sitting there at the minute. But for Blue Note fans, people who've started getting back into it following that release of the classic series, then Uncompromising Expression, this Blue Note book would be a fantastic purchase. And then we move on to my speakers, which, as I say, aren't used that much these days just because I listen to headphones so much, but they are super speakers. They are the Q Acoustic 320i stand mount or bookshelf speakers, currently sitting on these Nordell Audio isolation sponges just to try and dampen the sound. They probably ideally sit on a dedicated stand, but I don't have room here to do that. But when they see some action, which is quite rare because of the hi-fi Monsanderas, then these are excellent bookshelf speakers, the Q Acoustic 320i's. And if we go to the back of the listening room, that's kind of how they sit, and the listening position is in this chair. So that is how I would play music through the speakers. So if we go just up from the speaker system, this is what I refer to as the heavy rotation wall. So the 5 LPs that I'm playing most at the moment, which at the moment are War in a Babylon by Max Romeo and the Upsetters, the classic Island Records 1971 LP. This is a UK original pressing on Island Records. Then we have this great Alice Coltrane spiritual jazz LP, which I'm not going to try to pronounce, featuring Pharoah Sanders, which is just superb. Meditative music. Then we have this excellent, probably one of the best record store day releases I've ever bought, which is this Delvin Lamar organ trio double 45 RPM LP live in Loveland on the Colemane Records label. Colemane is an excellent US audiophile retro soul label who've signed, kind of retroactive soul, have signed loads of current artists rather than reissues, and Delvin Lamar trio are on their label, and this is a great, if you can pick this up, I don't think it was particularly rare, this record store day release from last month from Drop One is excellent. So that's the third one on the wall at the moment, and the fourth one is actually another Colemane Records album, the second LP, I think it's the second album by the Surefire Soul Ensemble, or was it the third? Step Down, which just came out last month, and that is a tremendous James Brown style instrumental folk LP. And then what's coupled nicely with that at the moment in terms of listening is effectively a JB's LP, which is Maceo Parker's Us from 1974. It's effectively James Brown and the JB's LP, but this is it's an all analog reissue from the 70s, which sounds absolutely tremendous. So that's the 5 albums currently on the listening wall. And if you move down, I kind of have a smattering of magazines I'm currently reading. You can see my tastes are pretty eclectic. There's a Jazz Wise magazine there, Songlines, which is world music, Country Music People, which is a UK music magazine, and then this kind of richer sounds hi-fi magazine just to browse, which is nice. Then this is a set list from a DJ set mini DJ set that I curated with some friends at a local club. You can see that was my Funk and Soul 9-song playlist, which I played on vinyl. That set, got a jazz calendar there for 2022. Couple of magazines. That's a great one-off magazine, 501 Lost Songs. Couple of long-lived vinyl editions there, and then a couple of, that's a record store day tote bag. That's a tote bag from a local record store, Torbird in Chesterfield, and a very local record store, Secatron Records, my main record store just down the road. And there's a really nice framed Monterey poster there to the right of the room. Pinheads were a punk band that I was the lead singer of in the early noughties. So some choice words in the poster from that, from a gig we did in the northeast. And there's a Rough Trade tote bag on the right. Then we get back to the vinyl collection again, picking up from you alphabetically in the rock section. So here is some U2, some Van Halen in here. Getting into V, Velvet Underground, W. Then one of my favourite bands, Wilco, so quite a few Wilco LPs there, including their last album, Ode to Joy. Sorry, last but one, because I just brought a new one out. So that's W, and then XYZ, going through, yes, Neil Young, to finish off the rock collection. So onto my my record cleaning machine, which is the Project VCS Mark II. I'm not sure actually if there's a Mark III of this, but anyway, this is cleaned somewhere between 800 and 1,000 of my albums, and restored many bargain bin LPs too. And yes, I hear that, and it's probably true that ultrasonic cleaners are a step up again. I used to use a Nosti anti-stat manual cleaner, which is kind of camel hair brushes, and you rotate the album around. But this this was a step up again, because of course the vacuum on this is you know, once you've applied the coagulating fluid, pulling the dirt directly out of the grooves. So I'm not saying it's the apex, but this has certainly served me well over the past 4 years or so, and restored many of my albums, and turned many a bargain bin 1 or 2 pence LP into a pristine VG Plus or even near mint copy via this VCS. So highly recommended, unless you can't stretch to something like a D Grid Out is the current popular one, or one of the other ultrasonic cleaners. I'd highly recommend the Project VCS. I'm going to finish off with some more vinyl. There are 2 genres that are separate from the rest of the collection. One is jazz. I'm a huge jazz fan. So what I have across 2 fairly large compartments is some tone poets at the start here of the jazz collection. Then it moves through A to Z after that. And you know, probably my pride and joy is the jazz and soul collection that I have. So really thrilled with what I have. Still some holes in the collection. Here's the excellent recent reissue of John Coltrane's A Love Supreme on the Acoustic Sounds label. Got some Comet Is Coming here. Yeah, Miles Davis, Kind of Blue. I should get the UHQR before it sells out. But anyway, that's the first part of the jazz collection. Then it moves confusingly to the start of the soul collection, which is almost as big as jazz. So mostly classic 60s, 70s funk and soul LPs, but some modern stuff too. Got Anita Baker there. This is a great LP. Rose Banks, who used to be in Sly and the Family Stones band. This is a superb LP too, coming at you by Madeline Bell, who was in this band, Blue Mink, actually, in the 70s. Kind of US expatriate who lives in the UK. Black Pumas there. So that's the start of the soul collection, and then the soul collection moves around here, and we've got all of this section from where the camera is to the back is soul, from Chic to the Crusaders to here's some Earth, Wind and Fire. You get the picture. It's a lot of it's 70s funk, classic soul and funk. Curtis Mayfield, Superfly, the Midas, the OJs, the great Ohio Place trio of LPs, Skin Tight, Fire, and Honey. These are absolutely excellent. So every attempt to I suppose build a classic soul collection, which is what I'm trying to do with this section. We've got some Frida Payne there. This is a great LP, Contact by Frida Payne, and one of my it's not a rare record. One of my prized possessions is this great mono pressing of Otis Redding's Otis Blue. So that's soul, and then jazz takes back over for the end of the collection. This portion here is all Blue Note classics from the last running. I'm going to do a video of all of these where I run through all of those, and then it picks up from G to the end of this on the rest of my jazz collection. There's a Bobby Gentry, the one jazz LP that was re-released recently. This is the excellent Acoustic Sounds Gets Gilberto. You've got what you'd expect, Herbie Hancock's Headhunters, some Roy Hargrove, Nora Jones, the brand new reissue of Come Away With Me, which I'd highly recommend. Diana Krall's Live in Paris, classic live LP. But yeah, real mix of jazz. Yeah, there's another Acoustic Sounds, which is the the classic Oliver Nelson LP, Blues and the Abstract Truth on the Acoustic Sound series, which is absolutely fabulous. So that's the end of the collection. Other than a section that I'm going to feature in the next video, which is how to buy the Beatles on vinyl. So I'm going to save that, what's in there, in terms of the mono pressings and other things I have in there. And the same, I'll do a separate video for the Stones, because I've managed to get quite a few first mono great Stones pressings. So I think there'll be the feature of 2 separate videos very shortly. via the channel. So there you go. I hope you've enjoyed the man cave and room tour. This is where I spend many an hour listening to great music, hours and hours of pleasure, and hopefully more to come. But as I say, hopefully the next room tour video I do will be with the wall to the left of me knocked down and an entire media room with a lot of this stuff either framed or replaced in something a bit more snazzy. But for now, this will do me very nicely indeed, and is a great space to listen to music. So hope you enjoyed that. Please like, subscribe, comment, post a link to your music room. I'd love to see it. And then I'll see you all again very soon. Bye.